logical selling is the reason you're losing deals, even when your offer's better. Listen, you're not losing because your product's weak, your offer's weak. You're losing because you're talking to the wrong part of the mind. Most sales training teach you to do one thing: stack logic. More features, more benefits of the benefits, more proof, and then of course all of the rebuttals. And on the surface, that sounds right, and there's a lot of programs out there like that. But here's the problem: logic is never what drives decision. People do not buy logically first. I'm sure you've heard this. They buy emotionally and then they justify logically. But it goes deeper than that. They decide emotionally, subconsciously, even instantly, I would say. And then they use logic to justify the decision afterwards. That means when someone says, "Oh, I need to think about it," they're not thinking towards a decision. They're explaining a decision that's already been made internally. Let me say that again. They're not making a decision. They're explaining a decision that's already been made internally. Studies in neuroscience and behavioral psychology consistently show that the majority of human decisions are driven by unconscious processes. Not slow thinking, not careful analysis, but pattern recognition, emotion, identity, and internal associations. So if you're trying to win the big sale with logic, you're aiming at the smallest part of the decision-making process. Every prospect you talk to is running a silent process underneath your conversation. They're not just hearing your words. They're asking internally questions like, do I trust this person? Does this feel safe? Have I seen something like this before? Did that experience go well or did it go bad? Is this something someone like me would do? These are what I call macro decisions. They're happening in real time long before you ever ask for the sale. Why? Because the brain is not designed to analyze everything from scratch. The brain is actually created to recognize patterns. So the moment your prospect sees you, hears you, feels your energy, even if it's over a Zoom call, their mind is instantly comparing you to past salespeople, past experiences, past wins, past regrets. And based on those patterns, it assigns meaning. Safe, not safe. Trust, don't trust. It happens in milliseconds. This is why you can have the best product, best pitch, the best offer, and still lose a deal. Because if the unconscious mind says that feels off, logic will not override that. Logic becomes a shield. It protects the emotional decision instead of replacing it. Now let's go deeper, because this is where most people never go. Every decision runs through identity. Not just, do I want this, but is this something someone like me would do? And that question is answered on an unconscious level, and it controls more decisions than people realize. A prospect might like your offer, they might even trust you, but if they're internally thinking, what if I fail again? What if this makes me look foolish? What if this proves I'm not capable? They won't move forward. Not because your offer's wrong, but because the decision threatens their identity. So when you hear, I need to think about it, I want to compare options, now is just not the right time. Most people start to respond with more logic, more explaining, more convincing. That's the mistake, because those aren't logical objections. They're emotional and identity-based resistance. So if you want to start closing at a higher level, you have to stop asking, what do I say next? And start asking, what are they feeling right now? What past patterns might be influencing this? Do they feel safe? Do they feel understood? Can they see themselves succeeding with this? Because that's where real decisions happen. And here's one of the most important concepts. The mind doesn't think in words first. It thinks in pictures, emotionals, internal experiences. So when your prospect is considering your offer, they're basically running a movie in their mind. And that movie determines how they feel, and that feeling determines the decision. Now, here's the key. When you change the movie, you change the emotion. When you change the emotion, you change the decision. So the best salespeople don't push harder. They don't overwhelm with logic. They don't try to win the argument. They understand something much deeper, and that is the real sale is happening beneath the words. If you want to learn how to influence decisions at that level and not just explain your offer, then check out yourpersuasioncoach.com. Click on the link to work with me personally, our inner circle. Let's have a conversation. If it's something for you, great. If it's not, that's okay too. You can keep selling the logic and wondering why people don't buy.